Hey there, just want to give a quick analysis and first impressions of some new strings I'm trying. These are straight up strings, medium gauge. I heard about these 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was in Don McCrosty's shop, the Red Diamond luthier, and he had them on one of his new models, and I was kind of curious as to why he was using those. I looked into them a little bit, and I was pretty intrigued. They have very interesting gauges on these. So the medium gauge set here, if I was to compare them to, say, the Diodario J74 is kind of standard string, the medium gauge that so many people use. The E and A strings are heavier gauge. They're actually similar to the medium heavy gauge that Diodario makes. The D string is basically the same as a light gauge Diodario string, and the G string at 39 is kind of a medium light gauge. It's kind of between gauges for what you can get from Diodario. It's interesting. So the reason they do that is to basically even out, I think what they call the download pressure, the pressure that the strings push down on the bridge. And their idea is that around the adjustment posts, around the screws here, you have to have a heavier download pressure as opposed to in the middle of the bridge. But they want to kind of even out the sides, and they did a lot of analysis and experimentation to get the gauges right across. And I think it actually produces some pretty good effects. So I'll kind of tell you the ways that I noticed it. So the E and the A string kind of being medium heavy gauge. One, I do like that gauge sometimes because it provides pitch stability. I don't have to worry about hitting the string kind of off center and bending the notes too much. It does kind of provide a little bit of a stiffer sound, especially when you're up in the higher registers. It doesn't ring out quite as easily. Obviously perfectly playable. Tons of people use that gauge string. Having the lighter gauge on the lower strings corrects something that I didn't really notice I was doing until last night when I was playing around with these strings, which is that I tended, I think, to play those strings a bit lighter in the effort of trying to get the notes, each note as I play it at the right volume. As I've switched to these strings over the last 18-ish hours, I've noticed that I actually use, with my pick hand, a much more consistent attack pressure up and down the scale. So I'm not sitting there like customizing the pressure per string. I can just kind of go a little bit more into autopilot, and it improves the tone a little bit too. So on the bottom strings, having to reach in and dig out a little bit more volume actually produces a pretty good tone out of them. Not too light and slappy kind of sounding. The other big thing I noticed is some of the songs I play where I'm holding down a lot of notes, and I'll do an example in a second here. The chords or the notes sustain and decay very evenly between the bottom strings and the top strings. I noticed that the notes just kind of hold almost more like a piano, very evenly and very pleasantly, I think. I'll give you an example of that one right now. So the prelude from Bach's Second Suite. Like that chord right there. I can hear all three of those notes ringing and kind of decaying. Still holding even now as I play them. I don't notice that happen as much with I've been playing the medium gauge Diodarios, the EJ74s. So that has been really pleasant to me. Also, I find it doesn't sound weird as I'm recording, so I think these would be really good recording strings. Maybe not so much jamming or kind of live sound strings, because since the bottom strings are lower, you do lose a little bit of volume on them, and if you're going for like max volume across the instrument, kind of no matter the balance, you'd probably want those heavier gauges back. But for recording, I think it's actually really sweet. I'll do something that goes up and down the strings a little bit more, see if you can hear the evenness a little bit. just think that's a really pleasant balance across the strings. I'm pretty impressed with them right now. I don't know their longevity yet. We'll see as we go. These are about 24 hours old, the strings, so I don't consider them like brand new out of the box newness anymore. I think they're fairly well broken in. I've played them quite a bit over the last day. So I'm really enjoying them right now, and we'll see how they last, but hopefully that gives you an impression as how they work. Thanks.